Hi guys, Nick Thomas here, and today for something a little different in that it's going to be a bit of a crossover video, as you can see by my attire. This is normally a fencing channel, and it's going to be about fencing, it's going to be about HEMA, and it's going to be about my daily job as well, because this is one of those happy occasions where things get to cross over. Okay, so as my daily work, for the last 10 years, I have been an author, a novelist. I've mostly written science fiction, some fantasy and a few other things, zombie fiction, mostly alien invasion stuff. So that's been my kind of staple for most of the last decade. So that's what I do, and it's also what Mike, the other instructor at the club, does. And we occasionally write novels together as well. But when I write, I like to try and combine swordsmanship and my love of HEMA and historical martial arts in wherever I possibly can, even if it's sci-fi and we just shoehorn that in there because it's fun. You know, there's no reason why you can't have swords in sci-fi. That has been done rather a lot in sci-fi, and there's a good reason, because it's awesome. Okay, so why am I holding a bronze sword? Because this is not something you'll see on this channel very often, unsurprisingly, because we use steel swords from the Renaissance and up to the sort of 19th century. So this is something rather different. Well, my latest novel is called Fallen Gods, and it's going to be combining my novel writing, with my love of HEMA in a fun way that I think is accessible for people who like HEMA, and for my normal audience. It's something that they're just going to really be able to enjoy, because I don't go too hardcore on the HEMA element in terms of making it too specialist and too specific. For those of you that haven't watched this channel before, HEMA is historical European martial arts, and what that really means is the practice of documented historical, mostly swordsmanship-based martial arts. And that's a kind of a field of expertise that I've been working in for a long time now, and so I like to put my knowledge of that straight into my fiction wherever I possibly can. So that brings me back to what this video then is really about, and that is about the novel Fallen Gods, which will be releasing today. And it's a bit of a departure in some ways for me, because as I said, I do mostly sci-fi and I've done occasional bits of fantasy, and this one it's a modern day setting, but it is more fantasy than it is sci-fi. People classify things differently, but it's certainly very much fantasy modern day. And it's going to combine the ancient gods, so the ancient Greek gods, in with some modern day swordsmanship. Now, with HEMA as we practice it today, we're modern swordsmen. We're doing it for fun, but actually what we're training for technically is to kill people with swords, even though we really don't mean them any harm. That is what we're training for, often training military forms of swordsmanship to go on the battlefield. So I think it's a really fun concept to consider. What if modern swordsmen, these people, like myself and thousands around the world, that are using swords for fun and for fitness and for enjoyment, what if they actually were forced into use them for real? Okay, so the story of Fallen Gods is there's a civil war in Olympus, and as Zeus is falling, he smashes his crown and scatters the immortals and the gods to the mortal realm. And this is going to take us to New York, and one of our principal characters, which is a police officer who is also a HEMA instructor. Now, that is sort of where this story came from. Is the inspiration is actually a modern day HEMA practitioner, an American instructor called Aaron Pinnenberg of the Wisconsin Historical Fencing Society, or Association, sorry. And I see his sort of posts coming up, because I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I see his posts coming up, and he's just so full of life with it all, so positive and so energetic. And he is a police officer, he is a HEMA instructor, and the combination together just seemed like a fascinating pairing. So the main character in this story takes that idea. It's not an exact carbon copy of Aaron, but the character will be called Aaron Miller, and moves him into New York. So he's an NYPD cop and HEMA instructor in the city. So it's nice to take inspiration from a real person, somebody that you can actually draw some ideas from. And I thought the combination of police officer, HEMA instructor, then having to put in sort of that sort of real world experience in against some otherworldly scenario would be just a fascinating one. So we're going to have gods and other mortals from Olympus, now fighting it out on the streets of things like New York and underground, trying to reclaim shards of the crown of Zeus to try and claim power. And inevitably our HEMA practitioners are going to end up embroiled in that war, focusing especially on this Aaron Miller character. So yeah, HEMA, going back to again, if you're not familiar with historical European martial arts, we're generally using things like medieval and Renaissance swords and stuff like this. And this is the kind of sword I was training with last night. So this is stuff we use an awful lot, and you got thousands of swordsmen around the world that are practicing, you know, high contact martial arts based on original systems. They're not fabricating things. They're training essentially as if they were having to go out and do it for real. They just don't do the final act of going out and doing it for real, or hopefully not anyway. And then we're taking it back to gods now arriving. We're going to have some nice big sort of action going on in New York, and using weapons that might in many ways look like this. Now they're not actually going to be bronze, because you wouldn't necessarily want to use a bronze sword against a steel sword, but these are godly weapons, so then they might look like bronze in the story, but they're going to be otherworldly weapons of Olympus, so they're going to be rather more special than just a bronze sword. Although, don't get me wrong, it is rather special, because this is a beautifully work-hardened bronze sword. So there you have it, Fallen Gods. It's out today. I really hope you enjoy reading it. It'll be on Kindle Unlimited if you've got that already, so you can watch it. You can read it for within your subscription for that, or you can buy it on Kindle and a few other platforms. And the it's sort of a nice departure for me, because as I said, I've done loads of alien invasion work, particularly Battle Earth, Battle Beyond Earth, they're my big 2 series, and I always throw in close combat with that, because I like close quarters combat with hand-to-hand weapons, so I find a way to throw it in, and in sci-fi it's often the way anyway, because it adds a bit of flavour, if you like, beyond just sort of modern day combat. But this one, yeah, it allows us to throw in superhuman strength and beings and gods, but also, you know, the sort of the common man on the street that also has the, you know, these sort of skills in swordsmanship that are just beyond anything you might expect of a modern day person, because let's face it, training with swords today is, you know, rather odd, really. It's rather anachronistic, but it's fascinating. It's something that thousands of people are now doing around the world, not just in HEMA, but in other martial arts as well. So, as a nice roundup, that's the book, Fallen Gods. It's going to involve plenty of swordsmanship, and as I said, it's out today. You can buy it today, read it today. I hope you enjoy it. And if this is your first time on the channel, please check through the other videos and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy the book.